Assalamu Alaikum Everyone! Nice to meet you in the 13th part of Ramadan Self-Improvement Challenge. Today we are going to talk about patience and its importance in Islam. We will mention some hadiths and Quranic verses about patience, and we will talk about how to be patient. And at least we will listen to some short stories, so stay tuned in this video, and now let's get started. Patience, known as sabr, holds a special place in our faith. Islam teaches us that life is filled with tests and trials. These challenges can be big or small, but they are all opportunities for us to grow closer to Allah Azza wa Jal and strengthen our faith. And patience is the key to passing these tests successfully. When we face difficulties, whether it's illness, loss, or setbacks, patience reminds us to remain steadfast and trust in Allah's wisdom and mercy. It's about surrendering to His will and understanding that He knows what's best for us, even when we can't see it ourselves. But patience isn't just about waiting passively for things to get better. It's an active choice to maintain a positive attitude and persevere even when things seem bleak. It's about finding the strength to keep going, to keep praying, and to keep hoping for better days ahead. And you know what's beautiful? Allah promises great rewards for those who are patient. In the Quran, He tells that He is with patient ones and that their suffering will be eased and that they will be granted a beautiful reward in the hereafter. So as Muslims, we strive to cultivate patience in our hearts. We look to the examples of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the other prophets who faced immense trials with unwavering patience and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Patience isn't always easy, of course. It requires us to control our emotions, to resist the urge to despair or lash out in anger. But through prayer, reflection and reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can find the strength to endure whatever life throws in our way. Importance of patience in Islam. Trials and tribulations are seen as tests from Allah Azza wa Jal. Patience during these tests demonstrates a strong faith and trust in Allah's plan. The Quran mentions numerous times the reward for those who are patient, both in this world and in the hereafter. Patience helps maintain inner peace and contentment even in the face of adversity. It helps in the development of positive character traits such as resilience, gratitude, and humility. Patience prevents impulsive or hasty decisions which may lead to regret later. What the Quran and Hadith say about patience. The Quran contains numerous verses emphasizing the importance of patience. Here are a few examples. And seek help through patience and prayer, and indeed it is difficult, except for the humbly submissive to Allah. And be patient. Indeed, Allah is with the patient. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasized the importance of patience through his sayings and actions. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Strange is the affair of the believer, verily all his affairs are good for him. If something pleasing befalls him, he thanks Allah and it becomes better for him. And if something harmful befalls him, he is patient and it becomes better for him." Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also said, "No fatigue, nor disease, nor sorrow, nor sadness, nor hurt, nor distress befalls a Muslim, even if it were the prick he receives from a thorn, but that Allah expiates some of his sins for that." How to be patient? Turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in times of difficulty and seek His assistance in being patient. Remember the rewards promised for patience in the Quran and Hadith. Practice controlling your emotions and reactions during challenging situations. Reflect on the examples of patience from the lives of Prophet Muhammad and other prophets, peace be upon them all. Cultivate an attitude of gratitude, focusing on the blessings rather than the hardships. Surround yourself with the supportive and positive influences such as friends, family, or mentors who can help you maintain patience. Now, let's listen to these short stories about being patient and get some nice lessons from them.
The King's Rice. Once there was a king who got lost while traveling alone in a forest. As night started to fall, he looked around from a hilltop, but didn't see any people or villages nearby. After some time, he noticed a light shining from a long distance. He started to walk toward it and eventually reached a hut where he found an old lady. Seeing him, she welcomed him, thinking that he was a soldier from the army. She offered him some water to clean himself and drink. She then made a bed for him to lie down. She gave him a plate of hot rice and curry, and he was so hungry that he quickly grabbed the hot food, which burned his fingers, causing him to spill some rice on the floor. The old lady noticed and exclaimed, "Oh, you're too impatient like your king. You have burnt your fingers and lost some food." The king was surprised and responded, "Why do you think our king is impatient?" The old lady explained, "Our king has a big dream of capturing all his massive enemy forts, and he is ignoring all the small forts." The king interrupted by asking, "What is the problem with that?" She smiled and replied, "The king's impatience to defeat the enemies resulted in the loss of men in his army, just like your impatience resulted in the loss of your food. Instead, if you eat the cooler food at the edge of your plate first and then make your way to the center, you wouldn't have a center. You wouldn't have burnt your fingers or wasted your food." Similarly, the king should focus on the small forts to strengthen his position so he can capture the massive forts without losing his men in the army. The king understood his mistake and recognized that patience and avoiding making haste in any situation is important. The lesson: being impatient and looking for quick results will not always end in success. When we want to achieve something in life, it is best to first understand the process and then work toward it. An evil plot. At the depths of a large mountain and a widespread labyrinth of tunnels was the home of a horrible creature named Kraton. He had been imprisoned there after terrorizing the local people. The labyrinth had only one entrance and exit, and seeing as it was magic, it changed its position every day. One day, a wicked man named Jaffa arrived in the land who wanted to rule over all the king's people. He was in such a hurry to become a ruler that as soon as he heard of the Kraton, he decided he wanted to free the creature to help him with his plans, no matter how dangerous the monster was. Jaffa and his slaves traveled to the mountain that housed Kraton. His slaves were so afraid of Jaffa that they didn't take long to find the entrance to the labyrinth. In fact, one of the slaves found out how to know the location of the exit each day from outside once Jaffa was inside the mountain. The slave explained to Jaffa, when you're exiting the labyrinth, you must wait until it's nighttime. However, Jaffa didn't care for this advice. He entered the labyrinth and started calling for the monster, explaining to the monster his intentions. Jaffa would free him from the labyrinth if, in return, Kraton would be at Jaffa's service, terrorizing the people there for at least 10 years. After several days, they found each other amid the blackest darkness, and there they cemented their terrible pact. Following Jaffa's slave's advice, they soon found the way out. Upon approaching the exit, they noticed bright sunlight that shone through the cracks. Jaffa remembered his slave's advice. He sat down to wait, but the beast, seeing itself free at last, was impatient and ignored their agreement, running out of the labyrinth. From inside, Jaffa heard Kraton's terrible screams of agony and ran out to see what had happened to the beast. As soon as the sun touched the Kraton's and Jaffa's faces, the sunlight and the light of 1,000 mirrors that the slave had placed around the exit to illuminate the spot entered their eyes. But because they had been in darkness for days, their eyes were defenseless to the light, leaving the impatient pair blind for the rest of their lives. Both evil beings, now blind, clumsy, and impatient, remained punished forever in a life of darkness, along with other creatures of the night. The lesson: even if you have been waiting for something to happen for a long time, don't rush at the last minute to make it come to fruition. Continue to take your time and proceed with care. The mango seed. There was once a boy who loved mangoes. He had one and decided that he wanted to be able to eat unlimited mangoes, so he planted the seed in his yard. The next day, he dug up the seed to see if it had started to grow. It looked the same as it did the day before. Every day after that, he kept digging up his mango seed to see if it had made any progress, but it wasn't growing. What the boy didn't realize was that the seed would not germinate if it was taken out of the dirt every day. Once the boy learned this, he eventually saw his mango tree sprout. While it took a lot of time and patience to produce any fruit, the boy realized that his impatience in the beginning was just prolonging the process. The lesson: the level of patience may vary from person to person, but it is often surprising just how much having patience can pay off in the long run. The long taxi ride. One evening, a New York City taxi driver arrived at his last pickup for his shift. After honking and waiting a few minutes, the passenger hadn't come out yet. Because he had had a long day, he considered leaving a few minutes later. Instead, he parked his taxi and went to knock on the door. he heard an old lady's voice yell, "Just a minute!" A small woman in her 90s eventually answered the door and kindly asked the taxi driver, "Could you carry my bag?" The cab driver walked the lady and her bags to the cab. Once there, she handed the driver an address and asked if they could drive through downtown. "It's not the shortest way," the driver answered. The lady then told him that she wasn't in a hurry, as she was headed to a hospice facility. She said, "I don't have any family left and my doctor says I don't have very long." The driver then turned off the meter and asked which route she wanted him to take. For the next 2 hours, the taxi driver and the lady drove through the city. She had the driver go by her former place of employment, a house where she once lived, and her old dance studio. There were even some parts of the town where she asked the taxi driver to slow down so she could sit in silence, staring into the darkness. After a few hours, the lady requested to go to her destination, saying she was tired. When they arrived at their destination, 2 nurses came out to the cab to retrieve the lady with a wheelchair. She asked the driver, "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," he responded. "I must owe you something," she persisted. "There will be other passengers," said the taxi driver. The driver then bent over and hugged the lady. She whispered to him, "Thank you. You gave an old woman a few more moments of joy." The driver could hardly speak when he pulled away. What if that woman had gotten an impatient driver, or someone who refused to get out and pick her up at her door, or refused to drive around the city? The lesson: be patient in conversation. There may be an important lesson waiting to be learned in your interactions with others. The woman wasn't the only one to benefit that day, as the cab driver was able to feel the significance of his actions for her and knowledge of how precious life is. Take some time to find more patience with the people you interact with, whether that's listening intently to your partner, having a conversation with your kids, or checking in with a friend. Look for lessons in your conversations and opportunities to give encouragement or simply be present with another person.
In conclusion, patience is a cornerstone of faith in Islam. It is through patience that believer demonstrates their trust in Allah's plan and their commitment to follow His guidance. Through patience, we can navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience, ultimately leading to spiritual growth and reward. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it like me. In tomorrow's part of the challenge, we will talk about humility, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of the next videos. It will be nice to see you again tomorrow. Assalamu Alaikum.